So if I'm not mistaken, I am standing approximately in the spot where Patrick got jumped. The container used to be right over here behind me. Came out to do just kind of a basic security patrol, and 5 guys came out of the bushes, and that was that. So let me show you a slightly more scenic spot here, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. Alright, so I've teleported just down the path here. I figured I'd spare you the shaky cam. But yeah, so first of all, let's just have a quick conversation about crime in general in Chile. The thing the criminal underclass in Chile has perfected is opportunistic theft. So burglaries, pickpocketing, general thievery is the kind of thing you need to look out for. I have the video on my channel about getting pickpocketed, so that's a perfect example. But that's the sort of thing you need to look out for, and the direct violence stuff is pretty rare. I mean, it happens everywhere. It happens here, but if you compare it to neighbors, compare it to like Argentina and Brazil, the sort of direct confrontational violence stuff is pretty darn rare here in Chile. Now, this is sort of communist riots aside, but then again, that's their own thing. The riots and things like that that's kind of like 2 armies showing up to do battle. So if you're not a part of that, you're not a part of that. Almost everyone that I have that's come down here has some kind of story about pickpocket, thievery, things like that. Now, it's not all bad. Like there's actually a situation when me and Patrick lived together back in like 2015. We had shared an apartment. He came back from the store one day, and he's like, "Here's your wallet." I'm like, "What do you mean, here's my..." Well, I didn't know I had lost my wallet. Well, I had. It had dropped out of my pocket in a taxi, and that taxi driver saw him at the store and assumed or knew that we were friends, or he's the other gringo in town. I was like, "Hey, here, do you know Ben, right? Well, here's his wallet." So that was like 3 days later after I lost it. So there's some good stories like that too. But when you do run into crime here, it's opportunistic theft. So that being said, Fort Galt has actually suffered multiple thefts, and there was kind of an escalation. So like back in 2018, I think, there was a burglary where the locks were cut on on some containers, and tools were stolen. So there was a burglary, and then at that point it's like, okay, well, someone should be here to keep the burglars away. So Patrick ended up living up here kind of full-time for a while, and the idea was that should take care of it. I mean, generally you just put a human presence there, and you don't have to worry about this sort of opportunistic thievery. Bottom line, if you leave anything lying around in Chile, it doesn't matter if it's the middle of the woods, wherever, it's going to grow legs and walk away. It will get stolen. So the solution seemed to be, well, put a person on the ground, and they'll should be fine. Well, that actually ended up being an escalation that the Fort Galt team really didn't anticipate, just because it's like, it doesn't happen. I mean, it does. It's just so rare. Yeah, like I said, Patrick kind of went out to do sort of a nightly walk around, and he kind of got jumped. And this crew basically, they jumped Patrick, and there turned out to be a few people here. And but everybody was kind of sleeping, so people got restrained, and then they went to the containers, cut them open, and stole what was there. So it could be that the same crew that did the previous burglary, could not, who knows. But yeah, so that was kind of an eye opener, and it was like, oh, okay. Um, it was just an unexpected escalation. So we're like, all right, well, violence is a possibility then. Like an actual sort of more home invasion style situation is a possibility when it comes to this sort of thing. So that Patrick ended up. Well, after that, I think he kind of needed and deserved a break from Chile, and had some other things to take care of in the States. So he's headed back. And when this happened, I was actually taking a trip to the States myself. I went back for about a month. So basically, as soon as I came back, I came out here to live on the fort and kind of replace him. And now we're actually equipped in some way to sort of respond to that and be ready for that. So yeah, when this happened, there's a few interesting things to note about it. Number one, this happened on Halloween night, which was at the very night that the commie riots kicked off. So number one, clearly these guys were sort of emboldened by the general commie spirit that was taking over the country that night. I think they heard about what was going on and were like, "Hey, well, there's some rich gringos over here. Let's appropriate their means of production or wealth too." So I think it was sort in an indirect extension of the riots. Also, when they were here, they kept talking a lot of shit about like Chicago boys and oh, you're Trump supporters, or did you vote for Trump, and things like that. So it was clearly a sort of commie envy action. The working theory is that it was probably some carpenters or people connected to these carpenters that were working for a different client on a different nearby lot that were probably behind it. Because the thing is, they had some sort of inside knowledge. They kind of knew. They seem to have certain expectations. I think they were expecting one gringo, Patrick. I think they knew about him. And they were expecting loot boxes full of tools because of the main construction company doing work on the main building. But the thing is, the main construction company was done at that point, and all of the real valuable stuff had been moved out of those containers. So if it were like the main construction company or someone really on the inside, they would have known that. So it had to have been someone less directly involved, but connected to someone who was on the property. So we think it was maybe some carpenters or workers that were on a different house or project on a nearby lot. And like I said, they clearly knew about Patrick, but I think they were expecting one gringo and no resistance after they stick a fake gun in his face. What they actually got were multiple gringos, and they did get resistance. And they weren't expecting any of that. It clearly wasn't going according to plan for them. And I think they know if they were ever to try that again, like, we're anticipating it. If they had more resistance than they really wanted before, we're probably going to be viewed as a harder target than they really want to bother with. Because we have several guys on the ground now with gear, with gear and protocols for if anything like that happens again. And the other thing is the main company. They now know that the main construction company doesn't have anything here, so there's no loot box. There's nothing major like that to steal anyway. So there's no loot boxes. More gringos, angrier gringos, and more prepared gringos on the ground. So it's unlikely that we're going to deal with that. And the guy that was that they were working for actually isn't here anymore. So anything connected with any of that is sort of gone. We don't really think it was like local, just random locals. Yeah, I don't think it's like neighbors or locals or anything like that. So, and anywhere you are, you do need to kind of think about your security, and when even in a place like Chile where direct a more direct threat of like physical altercations is unlikely, you still need to keep that in the back of your mind as a possibility. If it's a possibility, you need to think about that possibility and be ready for it, which we are now. I don't think there's really much to worry about right now. Once the construction crew is back on the site to finish the inside, then that's the time to sort of, ramp up the vigilance and really be ready for that sort of thing. But I think that the one of the main takeaways here is if you come down or you go anywhere like this and you're going to hire anyone to do anything, you really need to vet whoever you're hiring, whoever you're bringing onto the property. You need to know who you're hiring. There's got to be a reputation there. Don't just go with random people or like the cheapest. You really need to be careful about who you're bringing on to the property, because it was on some level it was an inside job. Inside meaning like someone connected to something going on the property. So just know that if you get burglarized, if you get stolen from or something like that, it's probably someone that has been on the property and worked for you, or that knows you directly or indirectly. So you got to be really careful who you associate with, who you meet, who you hire, and things like that. So I don't think the experience went well enough for these guys to bother trying again. If they do, then, we can practice some physical removal skills. But, that's pretty much the long and the short of it. Be careful. Watch your things if you come down. Just be ready for the opportunistic theft. Don't give them the opportunity, number one. And then be very careful who you associate with and hire, bring onto your property. And, just you want to think about the worst case scenarios, just in case. So I think that's about it. I'll go ahead and let you guys go, and we'll see you in the next video. Where were you when all this happened, huh? What were you doing? You were sleeping, weren't you? I guess you were locked in there. And then you ran away. Which is good. You're a lover, not a fighter, aren't you? Meow. I know.